leadership doesn't very often come in a way that's very well packaged. It doesn't get handed to you on like an ordering tray or a platter or something. A lot of times it's more of a situation like a position of leadership more or less just kind of gets drop kicked to you. And just like really less than ideal situations, like you might find yourself in a leadership role based on the absence of someone else, or you might find it where you decide to step into a place of leadership so that no one else will, on kind of a preventative basis. Or you might have it where someone tries to kind of slip this to you in a really appealing, kind of enticing way, like this is going to be just a really good experience for you. It's going to be like a real shot in the arm for your career, right? And so they'll kind of sugarcoat this and make it enticing, and then you actually figure out what you're in for in this leadership role, and it's like, so again, a lot of times the manner in which a position of leadership is attained is really less than ideal, and what you find is that it's difficult to understand why sometimes people are responding or not responding to you in the manner that you might expect, and it may seem like it's not exactly fair. And so I want to talk a little bit, about why that is, and some of the meaning behind that, to where you can kind of get into this situation of like that scripture that says we played a happy song and you didn't dance, so we played a sad song and you didn't mourn. Well, in a leadership position, you can really encounter that issue where you're not getting the kind of reaction that you might expect, and it doesn't really seem fair. And part of that can be that if you haven't really been in a leadership position before, you can get into that position and carry a lot of the mindsets from actually not being in a leadership position, being more of a follower, being more of like an employee versus an owner. You can find that you are carrying a lot of the mindsets to this role that you've adopted that really kind of came from a place of being outside of that role. And so the thing though that I want to kind of focus on right now in this clip is that oftentimes again when it happens when you get into this leadership role, there's things that happen that seem to be unfair, and it may seem that maybe there was some false promise involved behind it. Maybe you were kind of set up, or maybe it was presented to you in a lot more like glimmering way than what it actually ended up being, and you can get to a place where you're feeling really quite resentful about what this kind of role actually entails, and you can feel a lot of things. You can feel panic, you can feel just like you can feel panic, you can feel overwhelmed. And again, you can feel that it isn't fair, and that someone has really kind of set you up for failure in this regard. And one of the perspective setters for me in this area, what I find is I draw some examples, I make some comparisons from the workplace throughout these videos, and one of them was a time when these expectations had been changed in the area that I was working in, and they were changed in a way that we basically were expected to do two of something at one time. We were expected to assist two customers at the same time. Okay, that was just kind of something that was rolled out. I was like, okay. And so I got the chance to actually observe and just to kind of like shadow a couple of people that were doing this. They were kind of like the pilots for this model. And so I got to observe two different people who were trying to do this. Okay, and the first one, like almost right away, just right into it. The first one said, you have to excuse me for a minute because I'm having a panic attack, and I just occasionally have these, like it's normal. It's normal for me to have this, and to be reaching for my panic medication, and so she had a panic, and she had to actually, before I really got a chance to see how this was done, she was just gone, But then I had a chance to watch someone else do this. Okay, and again, we're talking about assisting two customers at once, right? And I mean, that was just presented like, this is what we're going to do, right? Which was like, so I had a chance to watch this other agent, okay, doing this, and and I went into it, and I was kind of just a little bit disturbed myself, and I was telling the second person, I was like, this is really quite challenging, isn't it? This is really a lot. Like, what are they thinking? What are they thinking that we can do this? Two at once forever. And this is what she said. She said, like, yeah, it really does kind of stink, and they're trying to set me up for failure, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work because I rock. Okay, and. I had to think about that, guys. I had to think about that because, what we can tend to get into is kind of this like observatory role of what things are the things that are going on. We get into this role of being kind of an observer of what's going on and and what's happening to us and what's happening to the people around us. But that comment just like kind of challenged me. To get at this different perspective. And the different perspective is seeing yourself as the interventional clause in the sentence, in the situation, okay? Like, this catastrophe happened, but I rock, okay? I got this task load that would have overwhelmed, basically anyone, but luckily it was me doing it, and I just nailed it, right? I had this responsibility that was placed my way, that was headed my way, but incidentally, I happened to be the one that got that, and I just got everything done, and there's just this little tweak, where you can see, on the one hand, at the start, at the onset, you can kind of see this train coming, right? You can kind of see this train coming, and you feel like you're going to get run over by it, and you just start sizing everything up about the train, and you almost kind of lose sight of yourself in this situation, right? But and see, this is where what this tweak that I'm talking about, though, what you have to do is to see yourself as this interventional clause in the sentence, and you have to see this thing as where like two stories are colliding. Okay, yeah, there's a train coming my way, and that's one story. Okay, but then there's me, and there's who I am, and there's what I'm capable of, and that's another story. And so I'll tell you what, we're gonna have this collision of stories here, but I'll tell you, my story is not going to get wiped out. Okay. And so you begin to see yourself as kind of this interventional force. Okay, like there might be some kind of an animal, like a large animal coming down the road, right? And you can look at that and maybe be a little bit intimidated by that. But you have to remind yourself that like maybe I'm driving a street sweeper, right? Like maybe that's my story. Okay, I'm driving a street sweeper. So you kind of again, it's about seeing yourself as this kind of interventional clause, this interventional element to the story, right? Like it's this whole tragedy that just unfolds. Like things were falling apart, and we just had this terrible attrition, and we just had just like this really bad season. But luckily, it was me that stepped in, right? And you're the interventional clause, okay? Luckily, it was me that stepped in, and incidentally, I rock, and so, as it goes, you can begin to get kind of some momentum there for yourself. But the main thing is to make that decision. The main thing is not to allow this, the onset of this responsibility or the onset of this task or whatever it may be. The development of the story. You don't want to let the development of the story wipe out your story, okay? And you have to recognize that, this is a problem to be reckoned with. This is a task. This is a responsibility to be reckoned with. But I am a force to be reckoned with, right? And it is no match for me.